Merry Christmas. Welcome to Frames TM. Today we have very interesting news for you. After a long time, I'm doing all those news videos. But yeah, no one has been talking about it. No one is talking about it. We have heard from Nikon rumors for a while now that Nikon registered two cameras, or at least they patented some stuff, patent numbers got leaked and stuff like that. They were talking about two cameras. One was, of course, a Z5II, and that got released. Fantastic camera. Watch my review of the Nikon Z5II. It's a fascinating camera. I loved using it. I loved reviewing that camera. When the Z5II was launched, one other conversation that started happening was, okay, what about the Z5II? Let me tell you, I have news coming from, actually I have a couple of friends in two different places. One in US, then the other person is in UK. And at two separate occasions, I got to know that the next camera is going to be Z5II. Last week, he seemed extremely sure about the fact that there is going to be a Z5II launch. And initially, I was like skeptical. I kept asking him, are you sure? What is it about? What is this camera going to be? Is it going to happen now? So in my understanding, in his understanding, what I get it is that what I get is in my understanding, what I get is that the camera is expected in the next 30 days maximum. We're looking to see the Z5II hitting the market within February, which is a little strange because March is when the year end happens. So unless they actually look at the financial year and the calendar year, and they look at all of those things like that, unless they decide to push it to April, if it's not a decision like that, if it is not a business decision like that, then the camera is ready to be launched very soon. It's ready to be launched in Jan. Why even February? So I will tell you what I know about what this camera is going to have. I don't know a lot, but I know some stuff about the camera. I have the Z6 III in my hands. I also have the ZF here. So there are things that this camera is going to draw from. I'll talk about that. Now, but before I talk about that, I should definitely talk about what the Z5II is going to compete against. It's going to compete against Canon's R8, most importantly, right? Because at that, I think 1200 to 1400 US dollars price point, you have Fuji's X-T50, you have Canon R8 within 1500 US dollars. You have the old A7C right now in some markets. In some markets, you also probably have the A7 III, right, selling very cheap at around 1500 US dollars. Now, so that's your competitive set. You don't have much coming from Panasonic there as well. Panasonic sells the S5II at 1750, and suddenly when you suddenly when you look at the Z5II, you'll understand why Panasonic's pricing of the S5II is very, very right. It's accurate. And why the R6II was really, really inflated at 2500 US dollars when it got launched, and why even the A7 IV is really inflated at 2300, 2200 US dollars. Okay, I think that's enough context. When the Z6 III got launched, a lot of people said, I got so many comments that said that, they wanted a bit more from the Z6 III in the way of photographic file quality. I already have done a comparison between the Z6 III and the A9 III. Have a look at that, and you will see that the Z6 III actually does quite well when it comes to photographic dynamic range and also video dynamic range. But there was still this conversation, this murmur around all of us that, Nikon kind of compromised with dynamic range a bit in order to provide us so much speed, which is a prerequisite for better video, like 6K 60, 4K 60, 4K 120. To answer that, I think the Z5II is going to be the answer for that. What I know about the camera is that it's very likely going to be the same 24 megapixel sensor. When I say same, I don't mean the Z6 III 24 megapixel sensor. I mean the ZF 24 megapixel sensor. It's going to have, I think my expectation is that it's going to have an ISO of around 64,000 at the highest limit of its ISO. It's going to have a flip out screen. The camera is going to have a flip out screen. That's one big change. I was actually looking forward to looking at a camera that has a tilt screen like I'm shooting this on the Z8 like the Z8 has or the X-T5 has, because, well, you already have a camera that does a flip out screen, and it's great for video shooting. So unless you're coming up with a screen that looks a bit like the A9 III or the A7R5 or the now the A12, which is both a tilt flip screen, as in it comes out, up like this, at the same time it flips out like this. Unless you're doing something like that, at this point, for about a $1,500 of a more photography centric camera, the Z5II, I would have liked to have a tilt screen and not a flip out screen. Now it's going to definitely have the X-Speed 7 processor. I know for a fact that it's going to have most of the autofocus capabilities that you see in the ZF and the Z6III. I'm not sure whether it's going to have the bird AF inbuilt or not. That I'm not sure. It will be very interesting to see if that camera has bird AF. Now, if you remember the original Z5, it actually had a dual card slot, which made that camera a formidable choice for many professional photographers. But it had SD card slots, but dual SD card slots. It'll be curious to see how many card slots it has. I'm pretty sure if the Z5 had dual card slots already, this one is going to also have 2 card slots, and I think it is going to have one XQD and one SD card slot. Also, last time the Z5 actually limited its burst shooting capability. It was, I think, 4.5 frames per second. I think that is going to increase to about 7 or 8 or maybe a maximum of 10, which is the limitation that Sony also imposes on its cameras below $2,500, like the A7 IV, like the A7C2, the A7C, and the A7 III. They cannot go beyond 10 frames a second. I think even the R5, A7R5 also does not do more than 10 frames a second. It's going to be quite competitive. Even Nikon caps it at 10 frames a second with a mechanical shutter. But limiting the speed or the strategy for the Z5, that's how sort of Nikon kind of ensured that it comes it's a more value camera than the Z6II at that point. Since they will again try to differentiate between the Z6III and the Z5, I think it's not going to have a sensor that is as fast as the Z6III, but it'll have a richer and file with more dynamic range like the ZFs, and will do possibly between 10 to 11 frames a second, just like the ZF. Also, now that you've seen that the Z52 has all the 10-bit color goodness, it's definitely going to have the 10-bit color goodness in video. I do not want Nikon to make the mistake of not adding 4K 60 full frame, or maybe a 1.1 times crop, not a 1.5 times crop. The Z5II's role is going to be to do almost everything, but then be slightly better at photo. But if you're making a significant compromise when it comes to video, then at times the Z5II will not be as good of a companion camera to the Z6III, and that's my fear. Because look, when you're shooting, if you have to shoot plan shoots, when you suddenly change the lens and move from this Z6III to that Z5II, and now you can no longer do 4K 60, it'll go back to 1080 60 because 4K 60 has a crop. That's a real hackle. That's a real hassle. And that's why I genuinely believe that Nikon should not do the mistake, or at least should not deprive the market of such a beautiful, well-rounded, wholesome system that people can have just with one feature added, 4K 60 full frame. Also, it's not going to have a top screen like this, like you can see this one. It's not going to have the top screen. I expect that this camera is going to actually come with a lot of the new extra buttons that we are seeing on the Z52. Watch that review again. You will see there are, in that tiny little Z52, there are 11 custom buttons. And now I think Nikon is moving very close to Sony in terms of how many custom buttons they allow on the body of a camera. And it will be exciting to see if the Z52 allows for so many custom buttons, because the Z52 is a smaller body. And even then it has 11 custom buttons. So therefore I'm expecting the Z5II to have maybe 13, 14 custom buttons just because it's a bigger body. Now this dial is going to move here. You're not going to have a screen here, and that this dial is going to move here, which means my dear friend Casey from Camera Conspiracy, well, he's not a friend, but yeah, I think he's everyone's friend. I think Casey is not going to have trouble. This is what he does, right? He does this, right? He won't have to do that anymore if he has this dial on this side. That's going to be amazing for him, but he will definitely not going to get, I don't think he's going to get RAW. If Nikon offers RAW, at least in some situations, like, 4K 24, 4K 30, in some limited scenarios, if Nikon offers RAW, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. But I don't expect that, to be honest. But I do expect 4K 60. I even expect 6K 30. I think it's quite doable. So let's see what Nikon finally comes up with the Z5II. Let's see when they finally decide to launch the camera, because I know for a fact that the camera is ready. So let's see what happens. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're looking for to please help this channel grow to 8,000 subscribers in the next couple of months by subscribing to the channel. And it's difficult to kind of grow a channel, especially camera, rumors and photography channel in the English speaking world, because look, I can do videos in Hindi, but then that's not my mother tongue, so I'm not comfortable with it. So I started doing videos in English, and I realized that most of my audience are from US, UK, Australia, and those countries. And because I have an accent, it's not easy for people to always, listen to me or probably understand me. But I try to do my best to ensure that I'm speaking clearly. I have to speak slower as well. A lot of people have advised me to do that, but I often fail to do that. I understand that may be a problem, but do subscribe and help the channel reach 8,000 subscribers soon. I'm going to see you soon with another video, and now I am going to record a video where we compare the Z6III with the ZF, because I think this is an interesting choice for a lot of people to make right now, because these are both fantastic cameras. In many ways they're close, but then in many ways they're not close. So I'm going to get down to doing that video. I'm going to see you soon with another one, this one.